Hey folks, Tip here from the Stupid Gardener, and just want to kind of show my compost setup. This is part two of our series on Compost Happens, and just want to show you what I have set up here. I have 4 compost bins, and I got these skids or pallets. I got them from work. Where I work, they recycle a lot of pallets and they throw a lot away, so this was free that I could just take. And so I grabbed some and I set up these compost bins, and this is the process I use. I will take everything from this compost and pile and flip it into these other ones here. And excuse the glare there, but the sun's shining out here today, which is great. And this is the compost pile. This is probably, I'd say, about a month old. And a lot of browns, there's some greens in there. I had a lot of grass I put in there a month ago, and that's pretty much gone. But the temperature on this is about 120 degrees, and that's probably a little bit low because a lot of browns in there, and it is starving for nitrogen. And I really need some greens, but it's the fall time, and I'm struggling getting that. The grass out front in the yard, believe it or not, is ready to be cut again. I sowed some grass out there, and it is ready to be cut again. So I will be able to get some greens and get some greens in here, and I'm throwing in as much kitchen scraps as possible, but I am still lacking in nitrogen. So this setup that I have underneath that black plastic there, and I keep it covered to keep that heat in there. I think last night it got down to like the mid-30s. So it got kind of cold, I guess cold here for North Carolina. But it's going to warm up today into the high 50s, so I should get some good heat on here. The sun, as you can tell, is just about to hit this, and that black plastic will attract all that sun and keep it in there. Under that black plastic, I got some cardboard that also keeps that moisture in there and keeps that heat in there. And when I turned this the last time, I had some extra straw, white straw that I was using to sow some grass, so I kind of layered it. And this is kind of like the lasagna method that you can use in your compost pile. Because the heat is 120, it desperately needs to be turned, so I'm going to be working on that. But I just kind of wanted to show you the kind of the setup that I have. But it is still breaking down. If you notice here on the top, it is. I usually keep this filled up to the very top. In fact, there's a mound there. So just in a week, that came down a good 3 or 4 inches just from the breakdown. But at this time, it is starving for greens or nitrogens that we talked about in the last video, part 1 of our Compost Happens series. So I just want to kind of show this to you and kind of go over some things that you can do to get more nitrogen in your soil. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And the main thing with the compost is keeping it filled up. And like I mentioned, it's very difficult in the fall and winter time to get your nitrogen or greens because you're just getting leaves and different things like that, and you can kind of unbalance your compost. So there are things that you can do. So we'll kind of talk about that in this series. So continuing on, I kind of want to title this about your compost happens and the different greens that you can put into your compost. And like I said, at this time of the year, you're struggling getting your greens into your compost. Then remember, the greens are the nitrogen. You need nitrogen to break down all these browns. And so you can add all the kitchen scraps you can, and that helps because that's mainly green that's going in there, and that's going to break down. Another way that I do it, and may sound kind of weird or anything, but you hear a lot of people doing this, you can urinate on your compost. And that's something I do, and I kind of call this to pee or not to pee. That is the question. And I choose to urinate on my compost when I'm out here. Now, I have a beautiful southern wife, and so I don't collect urine in the house and bring it out here because she wouldn't appreciate that. She'd probably kill me. But when I'm out here working and I'm drinking a lot of coffee, a lot of water, and so, when I got to urinate, I urinate. It's really no difference because if you're using cow manure, you're not only using cow manure, you're using cow urine because that's in there too. They don't separate it. So urine is a great nitrogen that you can put into your compost. And I've seen some people that actually use urine for their garden, water their plants with it. but it's very high in nitrogen, so you really want to mix that off with water or something like that, because that's a boost of nitrogen that a lot of people probably wouldn't want to put directly onto your plants. There are a lot of people that, like I said, who will mix that off with water, and that's great. And so that's another use that you can use in your compost. And as you see in my compost, I have those layers there, but it's all browns, and it is breaking down, but it's really slowing down in the wintertime. It's not like the summertime when you get all that nitrogen in there, and then you're starving for the browns. So, and in the summertime, when you're starving for browns, leaves, and different things like that, you can use the cardboard, shredded paper, and that will help you with the browns. So that's just kind of something to remember. And as I showed you the lasagna effect that you have there, the layering of the greens and browns, that's just like the forest floor that we talked about in the first video, how the leaves fall from the floor, fall from the trees, and layer the forest floor, and that breaks down with all the rain and the snow that gets in there. And so you got to remember that the earth is constantly replenishing itself, and that's what we're doing in this compost. We are taking the scraps and we're going to replenish everything that we have in our yard, in our garden, with what is falling around us. So just keep that in mind. And just want to share a little story about one time I was down visiting my parents in South Carolina, and my dad had this great back porch on his house, and he used to sit out there all the time. And my mother had a little garden out there, little kitchen garden, I guess, and they had this big plastic compost bin that I had bought them, and we were throwing all kinds of different kinds of kitchen scrap and yard waste in there. And I remember sitting out there with my dad one day, and he said to me, we were kind of talking about the compost and how it decomposes, and he said to me, he goes, just think about what man has built and how it lasts forever. You think about plastic, you think about metal, a vehicle, computers, and different things like that. It's here forever. It goes in a landfill and it stays there forever. But everything that the Creator has created for us and given to us, it replenishes itself over and over again. Think about leaves that fall in the forest, like we said. And if a tree falls over, it rots back into the earth and it replenishes itself. When you think about animals that die in the forest, scavengers come along and they eat it, and the bones rot right back into the earth, and it feeds the soil and things grow. Nowadays you hear about all these fires out on the West Coast, out in California, and they're just horrific. But after that fire goes through that forest and they got that layer of charcoal where everything's burnt up and everything, within 3 to 6 months or so, you will see the greens coming back, because the earth always replenishes itself. It's man that leaves this huge waste and carbon footprint on this earth. And if we can utilize the compost, we can feed our garden, put vegetables, and feed our flowers, and feed our lawns and everything, and that's the way it's supposed to be. We have been given this earth, and we are really just ruining it by creating all this waste that's going to be here forever. So just keep that in mind, and if you haven't compost, start composting. You can do it in a little bucket right on your patio deck. You can just take your scraps and just throw them on the lawn, bury them into your lawn, bury them into your garden. And that's one of the videos I'm going to do next, is about composting in your garden, and different things like that. And so just keep that in mind, and if you like this video, subscribe. If you have comments, put them down below. And if you can like the video, or and do whatever you want. But I would love to hear some feedback on this. And until next time, this is Tip from The Stupid Gardener. Everyone take care. God bless.